thank you so much for joining us for another interview of Magnifying Our Impact. And today, I'm really privileged to speak to a gentleman that's had a real impact on his industry. And his industry, of course, is the travel industry, speaking to us today. And so first of all, welcome, Hiran. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Craig. Nice to be talking to you.
Yeah, great. And thank you. And I'm fascinated by the fact that you think very differently. And, people here say that you're a real influence and you're a real trendsetter in the way that you look at travel and tourism. So travel is in so many of our hearts, obviously, globally.
Yes.
And it, not just from an enjoyment perspective, but I think travel's so huge to grow us, to teach us and educate us about the world. And you're one of those people that clearly brings your values of passion and tenacity and inspiration to the travel industry as a whole. I know that you're also really looking to carry on your father's legacy. So throughout the interview, I'd love to learn more about that legacy, because Magnifying Our Impact, this program and my work, is all about our emotional legacy and our intention for people around us. So I'd love to talk to you more about your legacy. So you've also, you're chairman of the Lighthouse Hotel PLC. Jetwing is a family-owned company, which has spanned now over 4 decades. You also, you've represented the Sri Lanka Board of Directors of the Pacific Asia Travel Association as chairman from 2010 to 2012. You've been president of the Tourist Hotels Association of the whole of Sri Lanka in 2005 to 2008. You were appointed as an alternative member of the World Committee of Tourism Ethics in 2017, and now you're serving currently till 2021. You're currently the immediate past president after serving for the 2nd term as president of the Tourist Hotels Association of Sri Lanka, 2014 to 2016. You've served on the board of the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotions Bureau, having already served as a board member of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. You also served as a board member of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. You're a member of the board of the Small Luxury Hotels from 2007 to 2014. In addition to this, if that isn't amazing enough, you've hold over 50 directorships in various hotels and related companies. You're a very sought after speaker and an inspirational person in the community and in the travel and tourism industry. I read all of that, Hiran, and I think, how on earth do you get time to live and to run your own business? I mean, that's astonishing. So can you please give us a few minutes on how you're going to do this in a few minutes? I don't know, but just try and give us a few minutes on where you've come from and where you are today.
Well, our family, we started in the 1970s. My dad started. He started very small, Craig, with 6 rooms, and then he's grew into grew a large organization. One of the things that he always believed in was, I mean, at that time that tourism didn't have all these beautiful words like responsible tourism, sustainable tourism, ecotourism, all of that. But he was a socialist at heart. He was a socialist believer. And he always thought that, you have to live and let live. You have to look after the environment. And that's how, we grew up as kids. And that's how he built his business as well. So he looked after the people who worked with him, and he also looked after the suppliers. So those were the things that kept us going. I mean, Sri Lanka has had a very, rough time. Even in the past, till 2009, we have had very rough periods in Sri Lanka, due to internal conflicts and tsunami and all of that. But be that as it may, with those principles, we survived and we continue to grow the business with the help of the people and our own beliefs.
And so you're very modest in what you talk about from your past. I think, I'm very interested in the fact that you clearly have grown a sizable business, Hiran, not just grown a business, which is for all of us to grow a sizable business is enough in the world.
Right.
You know, it's a big ordeal to grow a business of your size, but also for you to have the focus to look after people like you do and give back and serve on so many directorships, over 50 different directorships and so many different boards to serve other people. Talk to me where your heart has come from.
See, Craig, actually, that's two things. You know, I learned to work hard from my dad, and I learned to pray hard from my mother.
Yes.
We are Christians. We are Roman Catholic, actually. In Sri Lanka, we are a minority, but we have tremendous religious freedom. So my mother always, you know, had tremendous faith in God. Nothing would disturb her. Nothing would worry her. Even today, I spoke to her in the morning. I mean, she's 85 years old now. And she says, what it is, you know, people are so worried about this virus, everything. So her attitude to life is, okay, you know, God will take care of you. You have to have faith in God. So even in our business thinking, we have that strong faith and determination. So the hard work that the father introduced. So that's where we have the tenacity, the courage to move forward and take risks, because business is risk. I mean, you know, if you don't take a risk, then you don't move forward. So it's a combination of both of that, and that leads to, with the, you know, religious thinking and the socialist thinking of involving the local communities, making sure that the local communities benefit. We have 26 hotels in Sri Lanka, literally all over the island, I must say. And wherever we went, you know, from the 1970s when my dad started in Negombo, and I mean, I'm born in 1963, so I started driving in the early 1980s. And if I tooted the horn in Negombo, he would say, hey, don't toot the horn, don't disturb the local people, drive slow, don't, you know, we are foreigners here, make sure that it's their road. So you stay behind and allow them to cross the road, allow them to go through. So that's the kind of, you know, discipline. I mean, and Negombo is a fishing village as well. So he used to always say, be good to the fishermen, because that's the main business in Negombo is fishing. Make sure that you work closely with the fishermen, make sure that you don't disturb them, and you have a you know, healthy relationship with them. Those are the kind of things that was introduced to us when we were small. And then as we grew, you know, then of course all the environmental movement started in the 1990s, you know, all the sustainability. I mean, that didn't just came naturally. We were the first in Sri Lanka to start a sewerage treatment plant. Many of the hoteliers on the beach, they were pumping the sewerage out into the sea at night. And that was disturbing. So in the 1990s, when it was not mandatory for us to build these, we invested in, you know, sewerage treatment plants, recycling the water, reusing the water in the gardens and so on. So that's how we moved on. And of course, now we've gone way ahead of everybody else in the industry here in Sri Lanka for sure, and probably in Asia when it comes to environmental management as well as you know, community relationship, community management, and so on. So I can go on and on, but I know the time is limited. But we've started actually. We believe in we believed in 3 P's, that is people, planet, and profit. But actually, my friend, the former Secretary General of the UNWTO, Taleb Rifai, before he retired from the UNWTO, he brought in the 4th P, peace, that is peace through tourism. You know, I don't know whether you recall last year, Easter Sunday, we had the, you know, tragic incident where the, you know, 6 suicide bombers went into hotels and churches, and, you know, we had the suicide bombings killing many foreigners as well as Sri Lankans. And so we thought, I mean, you know, our country has, you know, as I said before, we have the Buddhists, the Christians, the Hindus, and the Muslims, and there's tremendous religious freedom. And we thought, you know, we must play a role through tourism, bringing these communities together, because that was, going apart a little bit, because suddenly out of the blues this hit us. And then we actually started through the schools, educating the children, bringing children together, all of that. That's how, committed we were. And until, of course, the sad virus took off, and then everything else has now come to a standstill.
Mm-hmm. And so, Hiran, I really want to talk to you more about the values and the underpinning beliefs of yourself and everybody in Sri Lanka, because you clearly, when you talk to anybody about Sri Lanka, you have a really strong set of values and beliefs.
Sure.
But before we do that, I wanted to understand what do you feel personally as an individual? What are the 3 things that have made you most successful in your career, Hiran?
I think I must say it's the hard work and the confidence that my dad instilled in me when I just got into business, because I studied after I studied, got through high school here. I studied in America for 4 years. I came back, and then at the age of 25, he made me the managing director of JetWing. I mean, it was a smaller company then. But then I said that I don't know much to work. And then he said, look, Castro was running Cuba at the age of 27. And if you cannot run this small company, that's how he gave me confidence to take over responsibility. And he did give responsibility to us. So I think that was one of the reasons how we someday as youngsters took on the responsibility and moved forward. And of course, then the faith in God also helps. We never worried about anything. Bombs were going out here. People were getting killed. And my dad always believed that tourism is going to play a role in the country. We have a beautiful country, and this problem will get solved one day. And he believed, and he continued to invest. So he gave us the confidence to move out and do that. So that's I think the second. And then of course the people we have. We are blessed with great people who work with us, and that's been our success as well. The fact that you alone cannot do very much. Unless you are surrounded by good people, committed people who dedicate their lives for the organization for the sake of tourism. Those 3 factors are the things that I think have moved us to this level today.
And so that's really powerful to listen to, because I want to explore that sense of, it's a fascinating story about him saying Fidel Castro, was running Cuba at 27, you can run a company. That gives you a platform of understanding when you're young, but what you're capable of as a human being. And I can see why that grows confidence, and also your faith and your beliefs. And also you mentioned the third thing around the people that you surround yourself with. So I'd love to ask you a question about, what do you think is most important to build a winning culture and a great team? What are the keys to, because there's so many people listening to this, Hiran, that are looking to grow teams and looking to create that winning culture that you haven't. So how do you surround yourself with great people, and how do you give them the confidence to create that culture?
Trust, love, and respect. If you do not trust people, you cannot build a team. If you're always suspicious of people's movement, you don't give them the confidence, you don't give them that, you don't show that you really trust them, and you don't care for them, you cannot have a team. You have to love them as well. You have to, people need love and respect, right? And if that love and respect does not come from you, you can't expect them to respect you and love you. So I think it's all mutual. So to build a team, to me, first and foremost, the trust, love, and respect, and of course, communication in all those areas. So that's how we look at it in many ways.
And when you look at trust, love, respect, and communication, those are very powerful core values. And Where did that come from in you? I know it must have come from your parents, but when was the first time you thought this is so important for the company? Or has it just always been who you are?
You see, Craig, I also played cricket when I was a youngster. My only interest in, when I was in school, in high school, was playing. And I did represent Sri Lanka schools and which toured England in 1981.
Wow. Okay.
Some of them, actually, the captain of the Sri Lanka's World Cup winning team in 1966 was a member of that team. And so I was privileged to be appointed captain of the junior under-17 team. And the coach also at that time taught me a lot and gave me a lot of confidence how to work as a team. And then, I learned a lot on the cricket field. How I used to move the people, the players, how I used to discuss with them. And that helped me when it helped me more than what I learned in university in America. I do have a paper qualification which says I have a BSc, but more than that, how you really, work with a team in the cricket. I'm saying cricket because that's a sport I know, but any team sport, football, rugby, anything, where you have to manage people, I learned to manage people on that. And that's what when I started working, I realized, it's something similar. You have to move people, you have to get them going. Some have to do hard tasks, some have to do softer tasks, some may not be playing in the team, but they also have to really, to play their role to make the team win. All of that brought a lot of to my thinking, and that helped me as well.
Hiran, what do you think are the biggest challenges that we face in travel tourism and in the world today? And how do you feel that we can change things and manage things properly?
Oh dear, that's yeah, I can tell you, but it's very, very difficult. I think people are very greedy today. People are, their focus is money, 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 right? And I'm not shy to say we are in business, and I said the 3 P's: of people, planet, and profit. And profit is very important in any business. You cannot sustain anything if you do not make money. But if money is the only thing that you're after, then that greediness comes in, that you think nothing else but that, and then that's a problem. Today, people, the commercialization has gone on to such an extent that everything is measured by money. I am privileged in a way because I work for a company which my father founded, and my family still owns majority shares in all the businesses that we run. So I am fairly secure in my job. But if I was a CEO running for managing a big public company, then my performance will be measured only by the money, money, money. What I do to the environment. You look at a balance sheet of any organization. Does it give any credit to what you have done to the environment? Does it give any credit to what you have done to the people? Nothing. Show me one balance sheet anywhere in the world. I'm not talking Sri Lanka, but globally, any account firm will just judge you by the financial performance of the company, and your rewards will be only based on profits, nothing else. So if I'm given a 3-year contract or a 5-year contract, right, I'll just go bum. I'll just make things happen just for the sake of those 3 to 5 years. I make money, I get my dividends, I get my bonuses, and I just focus on that. I don't give a damn as to what happens after 3 or 5 years. So these are the problems that even tourism faces today, right? Most of the huge tourism assets globally and even in Sri Lanka are owned by either multinationals or big corporates. So when you're head of a big corporate, you're not thinking of bringing in all these values into play. The only value you come into play is your money. So therefore, unless we change our thinking, we change our accounting models, right? How we judge people, these are not going to change, Craig. We can talk and talk and talk, but people will not change. Take this virus away, take all the traveling restrictions away, we'll go back to our same old habits. For sure, we will go back to our same old habits. You believe me, give it another year or whatever it takes for the travel restrictions to go off, bang, people will go, travel, eat, drink, make merry, and show goes on. Nobody cares of the earth, of how we can contribute to the earth, right? How we can contribute to local communities, look after them, make them better. That's very, very difficult. So there has to be a complete paradigm shift in financial accounting purposes. Until that happens, all these things that we talk of are really wishful thinking.
That's so interesting around, and I've never really thought about it from a balance sheet perspective. To look at it and say, of course, I feel how we judged in at least our Western world, and you're absolutely right. We're driven so much by profit, and so what just talk to me a little bit, Hiran, about. I understand it needs to change when we're young. It needs to be in education, but what would you say globally would help that shift of that balance sheet to change our minds, to start caring about the planet more? How do we, is it education? Is it laws? Is it rules? Is it, what would change our mindset as human beings and start to look after people and look after the planet more?
I think the people must put pressure on the politicians, because even the politicians are judged by the economic performance of a country. I mean, like the few political leaders that came into power talking of making the world greener or the country greener didn't last their term. They got pushed out by their own people. That's because of the economic pressure. So if we, the people who are not in politics, tell our politicians, look, we're not only going to judge you on your economic performance, we are also going to judge you on what you do to the environment, how you, what you do to the local communities, all of that. Then it's going to slowly change. It's going to slowly change. If not, the politicians, again, they get a 5-year term, right? And they're looking at how can they get re-elected again. So when they are thinking of getting re-elected in 5 years, economy. It's not the environment. You can't say I planted 1 million trees. If nobody's going to vote for you because you planted 1 million trees, then the guy is not going to worry about that. But if we, the people, put pressure on the politicians and say, hey, we are going to decide on who's going to come into power based on what you do to these as well, then I think the change can start slowly happening. We can't leave it in religious leaders or, NGOs or whatever it is. It has to come from the top, the head of state of every country.
And Hiran, just talk to me more commercially about the importance of creating green technology, because you run an organization that is very, very keen to look after people and look after the planet. So how
we looked at it from the environment point of view, Craig, and also the economic point of view.
Yes.
Now, 3 of our hotels have solar parks. In those solar parks, we generate 1/3 of or sometimes even a little bit more, but let's say 1/3 of the energy we require for the hotel. I mean, it was, substantial investment at the start, but we are saving 1/3 of the electricity bill that we have to pay every month. And that's a substantial saving. And we realize that we can recover within 5 to 7 years our investment. And
Wow.
then that's a substantial saving, and that makes good environment sense, and it makes good financial sense as well. We have absorption chillers in our hotels, in about 50% of our hotels, not all the hotels. And that is, again, we were the first to introduce absorption chillers to power the air conditioners in our hotels. And that, again, what we did was, Sri Lanka is famous for its cinnamon, right? The spice cinnamon. And once you take out the cinnamon, the rest of the bark or the tree is thrown away or used for firewood only. And so what we are doing is now we buy that cinnamon sticks from the farmers. We pay them an amount of money for their cinnamon, and that gives them extra income for them. So
yes,
we created an extra income to the farmers, and then we are using that for to power the absorption chillers through our boilers. So again, and that's because that has saved at least a good 40% of our air conditioning cost in the hotels that we have. So it is you can always look at both sides, the economic benefit and the environment benefit,
yes,
and the community benefit when you get into these fields.
And what would you advise when there's lots of people listening to this interview, Hiran, that are running social enterprises or charities or commercial organizations, and are now in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, as you are, and there's lots of suffering economically from a human perspective, but also economically. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what needs to be the mindset of people while they're going through a difficult time? Because you've had wars, you've had tsunamis, you've had bombings. You also are in the middle of the pandemic, and you've learned through difficult times, lots of difficult times, about how to survive and build and grow. So can you give us some advice of the people that it's their first difficult time in their business? Say they started after 2008 and they've only been running their business for 5 or 10 years. What advice would you give to them about getting through this pandemic?
You have to have a lot of patience. I mean, it's not going. One thing we know for sure is that this is not going to be over in another month or two. We are going to go through this phase for, I don't know what, 6 months or a year or whatever it is. People are going to suffer. People are going to, a lot of people are going to lose jobs. A lot of people are going to lose their businesses, all of that. So you have to, hopefully most governments will help people get over this period and protect their business, protect their livelihood. During this time, you have to have a culture of love and service. Sometimes you go to a poor person and the guy has a half of bread, you might cut it to another half and give it to a poorer person, But we who are privileged sometimes don't realize that. And we try to grab and hold. And, so it has to be a kind of love and service to your community, maybe, to your family, maybe, understanding, love and compassion, all that. If you do not have that, and anxiety starts building, and you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get depressed, and you're going to only be thinking of yourself. But you have to think that there are people who are suffering more than you. So you have to thank God that at least I'm alive, I'm safe, I can live another day, and I can maybe during that time help somebody else as well. And the more you help, the more you get. I believe in that. If you believe in a God, the more you help, more you get. And that's the only way you can survive this period, because if you allow anxiety to set in, and then next is, depression, and then you need medical help, psychological help to get through this. And some would lead to even greater risks like suicide and all of that. So people need not go through that. If there is love and service in their heart, and it comes from the heart, then life goes on.
And that makes so much sense to me, and it's a very powerful statement, because I think, Hiran, we have to, unfortunately, sometimes we have to learn through difficulty.
Oh, for sure.
What we're learning that many countries have always done, and I think in England sometimes we've struggled to stay with our community, because I think as cities get bigger and bigger, like, I know you have Colombo and what have you, but we live disparate lives, don't we?
Yeah.
And we're not connected enough.
Sure.
And I think what has just come to me is that during this pandemic, it's amazing in England how everybody's starting to help each other again.
Yeah.
And so we need to continue that. We need to learn from that. Like you say, not just bounce straight back, but we need to make sure that we build and develop what we've lost, our communities, because that's who human beings are, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're community creatures. Who are the 2 or 3 people? There's been lots, I'm sure, but who are the 2 or 3 people that have inspired you the most in your life? And what particularly have they taught you, Hiran?
Well, of course, my dad is my hero.
Yes.
I mean, he's the one who, took all the risks and got us going, gave us confidence, gave everything he had. So I have to say that's my number one hero. My second and third people are my 2 cricket coaches. People who taught me again a lot. They disciplined me. They gave us again courage to go out there. One of my cricket coaches, Fairly Dalpadadu, the person who really pushed me into a different level at sport. He used to say, even if you're not a cricketer, look a cricketer. Don't, even if you're going to lose, don't look like a loser. Even if you lose, go out there and congratulate the other team, wish them well, and but you plan to beat them next time. That's the kind. So that kind of they toughened us while we were in school. Disciplined us, gave us courage. So I have to say the 2 coaches, Fairly Dalpadado and James Pereira, both are no more. All 3 are no more now. But I still pray for them when I wake up every morning as my people who influenced me most.
And what do you think are the 2 or 3 decisions that you've made in the business that have been really important? Are there moments where you have made a certain decision or done something right that have propelled the business? What are the 2 or 3 things that you think have been most important?
The one big one I made, that actually my father supported, to be honest, but was transforming one of our hotels in Negombo, which was a good 3-star hotel, into a small luxury hotel. Royal Oceanic Hotel became Jetwing Beach. That was in 2004. When we did that, it was a big risk because Negombo was not known for luxury travelers. Negombo was literally a charter business, mass market destination, and suddenly something told me that we can do something. And at that time, it was a substantial investment of about $3 million that we invested to transform the hotel into a 5-star small luxury hotel. So people thought I was crazy, and my father allowed me to do that, and they thought he was crazy to allow me to do it. And some of the senior team members were very scared, very worried that the entire company can crash with it. So that was one that changed our company from a good 3-star hotel operator to a luxury environment friendly operator. And then in 2006 we opened Jetwing Villuena in Sigiriya, which again was a radical project where we created our own lake. We built villas over water. We created a natural habitat. It's literally a wildlife sanctuary now. And that
Wow.
again, at that time, now it's wow actually, but at that time, for the first 3 years of its operation, it wasn't successful and it was bleeding. And I, some or other, told our finance people, everybody else, let's hang in with this. It's going to create history. And then suddenly National Geographic Traveler, came out and reported that it's one of the top 10 eco-luxury lodges in the world. And suddenly the heaven opened out for us. I mean, then people came in from different parts of the world to experience.
Yes.
Even today, it's one of the most sought after hotels in the island. So I think these are the things that really, and then of course, our decision to start JYDP, Jetping Youth Development Program, where we teach youngsters over the age of 18 hospitality skills and the English language. So we have, up to date, we have trained over 1,000 youngsters. We found them employment. Some of them have now gone overseas and started working. And these are things that really, made a change in our organization.
Hiran, there's been so much talking to you today. I would love to ask you two quick more questions. One is, what would you like to see people understand most about the beautiful place of Sri Lanka? Because we've heard, from so many people now how it's such a stunning place with wonderful people and can grow us so much in the culture and the environment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you think is important for you to mention, because you're so you have so much responsibility in Sri Lanka tourism to guide so many people? So what do we need to understand about Sri Lanka and the importance of traveling to Sri Lanka? And second thing is, what's your advice with regards to how we see traveling and tourism in the future? Can you give us some advice as to how we should see Sri Lanka and how we should see our own responsibility of travel?
Right. Correct. Sri Lanka, this is very spiritual country as well. I mean, as we were talking of religion and everything, and so Sri Lanka, I think people must think of our wellness, our traditional wellness. I mean, this is very appropriate at this point in time. There is, 2,000-year history of traditional wellness, which is called Ayurveda.
Yes.
And there is a way of boosting your immunity. I mean, so you boost your immunity for your health purposes, and you boost your spirituality for your own, mind. So it's protecting your mind and protecting your body. I think the rest of it, the beautiful beaches, the mountains, the cultural sites, everything is now very much preserved because it's now, in hibernation at the moment. So if somebody is planning to travel, and I don't think people will travel until all these restrictions are taken out. I mean, I can't expect you to come to Sri Lanka now with, all sorts of social distancing and all of that. Once these restrictions are taken out, come to Sri Lanka and boost your spirituality and boost your wellness, immunity through our traditional Ayurveda, and of course through Buddhism, which is finding the middle path in everything that we want to do.
Yeah, wonderful. Hiran, thank you so very much for joining us, and it's inspirational, your story and your values. And what I get from talking to you over the last 40 minutes is a sense of trust and love and compassion and communication and community in everything that we do. And that's, I feel, the huge learning, because if we can make that paradigm shift in looking after other people first, in that way, then the whole ecosystem and the environment will benefit so much.
Definitely. Definitely.
So I really thank you for your inspiration and for your time. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig, and God bless you.
Thank you so much.